I decided to channel my inner Vernon Dursley by reviewing the book from my new armchair, which I am finding very, very comfortable. So it's not obviously a book, it's a play. It's 2 parts, as you might know, and both parts have 2 acts. The intervals are placed quite cleverly, I think, and you can see why the amount of content has been split into 2. The play is ideal for someone who has read all of the Harry Potter books before, or is really a keen follower of the series, because there are loads of lines and moments that sort of remind you of things that happened in the past, and I just think that's probably the highlight of the play, is the way that it admires the past text and sort of encourages the reader to remember them. Related to that, there are lots of characters from the past and lots of new ones too. Obviously it's 2nd generation, so you've got Albus and Scorpius and Rose, etc., which really do follow a lot of the story, but of course you've got the traditional Harry, Ron, Hermione, and some other people you don't expect to pop up, but they do, which is quite pleasant actually, to see random people and see where they've gone, and of course to see where some haven't. It is a really intriguing book at looking at the perspectives of the past and the future, should certain people be where they are, or where they're not now, but they could be. Basically, I'm trying not to give spoilers, but things could change, and it shows you what would happen if I've already mentioned that the plot is thick. There's thick with content, thick with lines too, and I think that is why it's 2 parts. However, I probably would say it gets convoluted at times, almost. There's too much. It would be nice if it was simpler. I think it would have been great if it had stopped partway through part 2 of part 1. No, oh, this is so confusing. The parts throws you. Act 2 of part 1. There's a really nice moment, and I feel like it could have just been an individual play with that, but then it wouldn't be a play. It wouldn't have enough plot to drive it. I think it doesn't necessarily give you a plot at the beginning to want to follow. It doesn't give you a character desire as such that you are hoping for them to achieve by the end. It's more that it's hoping that your reminiscence of the books draw you in enough for it to develop to the point where it becomes something. There's loads of action, and I can see why it's a play. That visually it's going to be brilliant. I imagine that on the stage is going to be one of the best plays this year, 100%. As a book, as a piece of writing, I don't think it's as successful because it doesn't draw you in as early. But I think as a play, it's literally exactly what you'd need visually. I think there are other alternatives, and it does feel a bit like fan fiction, but slightly better written. In relation to that, in relation to the idea of it as fan fiction, there are definitely some characters who early reviews or early suggestions made it sound like their role was really developed and really appropriate to who they are from the books, but I think definitely some of the core characters don't come across in the same way, or they've been given sort of easy lines or easy development. They've not necessarily matched the previous character as much as you expect. Like Hermione, I expected to develop a lot more than she did. She's basically the same sort of thing, she'll say. I think they've almost missed out in that way because there's so much they could have done with characters like that. Ron as well, he's just sort of there as a spare part. He's not really there for anything. He's only there really because he's married to Hermione. At least that's how I feel about him, which is a shame because I think, especially with Paul Thornley, who's a brilliant actor, they're missing out. But then seeing the play, I imagine his part strikes out more because it's more physical, it's more how you perform it. But I do think definitely there are characters I hoped would be more, like Rose as well. I hope they would develop them more, whereas actually the ones they've developed are the ones you'd expect them to develop, like Scorpius and Albus, which is great, but it would have been nice to see some of the early reviews or the early suggestions about the play coming to light.